2019 has dawned upon us, and Honor is already here with its first smartphone of the year, the Honor 10 Lite. The Honor 10 Lite is an upgraded version of the Honor 9 Lite, and it is not really a light variant of the Honor 10, which could be confusing for a lot of folks. With that in mind, let's get down to my review of the Honor 10 Lite. But this review will actually be in parts. I'll explain why in the end of the video. I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone. Let's get down to a full review of the Honor 10 Lite. The Honor 10 Lite is clearly a good looking phone, especially in this unique gradient sky blue color. However, unlike the 8X, the Honor 10 Lite is actually made of plastic. It attracts a lot of scratches, but thanks to the colorway, you can't really see it clearly. Also, the rear is sort of a fingerprint magnet and it becomes visible even at the slightest angle. That said, if you're too worried about scratches and fingerprints, you can use the case bundled in the box to protect it. There is also a screen guard for the display in case you're wondering. Coming back to the design of the Honor 10 Lite, I'm a fan of the form factor and ergonomics on offer. Compared to the elder sibling Honor 8X, the 10 Lite is actually a compact phone thanks to its smaller display. I found it easy to hold and use with one hand, partly also due to the light weight of the phone. Apart from that, the curved back actually nestles in your palm comfortably. I think Honor has really nailed the ergonomics on the Honor 10 Lite and made a fairly usable phone this time around. Additionally, Honor has also nailed the feedback on the buttons placed on the right edge. You get a nice clicky sound when pressed, and that feels very reassuring. Nicely done, Honor. The fingerprint scanner is at an easy to reach location on the rear and works pretty fast. Similarly, the face unlock works fairly fast and doesn't unlock the phone if your eyes are closed. But the face unlock struggles to work properly in the dark, which is what I noticed during my testing period. I do have a couple of pet peeves with the design though. Firstly, I don't understand why Honor is still persisting with a micro USB port at the bottom. It is 2019 for heaven's sake. Move on to the newer USB Type-C standard. Apart from that, secondly, this is a minor niggle, not everyone might have problems with it. But at the bottom, right next to the micro USB port, you can see the headphone jack and the mic. They are slightly misaligned. Symmetry I know is very difficult to achieve when you have internal components inside which might not be placed accordingly, but I feel that symmetry is vital for a complete aesthetic design of the phone, which is kind of lacking on the Honor 10 Lite. The Honor 10 Lite's front fascia is dominated by a 6.21-inch IPS LCD panel with an aspect ratio of 19.5:9. Honor claims that you get 91% screen to body ratio as a result. While most of the screen estate can be attributed to the fact that you get a very tiny dewdrop notch, part of the good screen estate is also a function of the small chin at the bottom. Honor is one of the very few brands using chip-on-film technology to actually make a smaller chin. While it is not close to what Apple achieves with the curving of the AMOLED panel on the iPhone X, it comes really close. In fact, of all the phones I have seen with a display notch in the recent past, the Honor 10 Lite is one of the very few phones with a slim chin, just like the Honor 8X. I just love it. The dewdrop notch also ensures that it mostly stays out of your vision, only acting as a tiny blip once in a while. Honest to God, I played more Guns of Boom on this screen more than any other phone in this price range. It doesn't hurt that the bezels on the sides are also really slim. As for the IPS LCD panel, the default color temperature was a little too cool for my liking, meaning the blues were slightly accentuated. I had to tweak it slightly in the settings to actually get it to a slightly more neutral tone. But the software offers it, so that's definitely an added advantage. Also, the panel is plenty crisp and mostly color accurate except for the gallery app, which for some odd reason tends to boost the colors. I think this is done on purpose to make the photos look more colorful and attractive. The Honor 10 Lite also comes with TOV Rhineland's acclaimed certification for displays, which means that it is a safe display. What it does is basically in the eye comfort mode, it sort of makes a warm image, which makes it easy for you to actually view and use in incandescent or low light conditions in the night without hurting your eyes. Also, the display has only wideband L3 support, and that means you cannot watch full HD streaming content on streaming apps like Netflix and Amazon Prime. But you won't have a problem with the brightness levels on offer or even the viewing angles, both of which are class leading on the Honor 10 Lite. The major advantage for the Honor 10 Lite is the fact that it comes with the latest version of Huawei's homegrown EMUI. You get EMUI 9.0.1 based on Android 9 Pie, which hasn't reached the Honor 8X yet. Yes, it is the same version of EMUI we saw on the Mate 20 Pro. This is a software that is refined well over the years, For example, you get full screen gestures now that are pretty easy to get used to. Additionally, you also get digital balance, an offshoot of Google's built-in digital well-being feature. This feature lets you manage your screen time so that you don't overuse the phone. As a reviewer, I have little use for this. Do let me know in the comment section below if you guys actually find the digital well-being or screen off features interesting. Then there is high touch for visual shopping. Essentially, you can hold two fingers on any particular image to find a similar product for buying online. That said, the dark mode and the knuckle screenshot features from the Mate 20 Pro are conspicuously absent from the device for some odd reason. And yeah, I'm still not a fan of the big icons or the fact that Huawei bundles so many duplicate apps and some bloatware too. I still find it very overbearing. But here's the thing. In my time with the Honor 10 Lite, not once did I feel like using, my favorite Hyperion or EV launcher with the phone. And that in itself is a testament to the fact that EMUI has actually become a lot refined over the years. One of the reasons why Honor phones are very popular is because of the feature-rich camera app that you get with the phones. On the Honor 10 Lite, the focus is the front camera. Just like the Realme U1, the Honor 10 Lite comes with a 24 megapixel camera that uses a Sony IMX576 sensor for capturing selfies. This is a 0.9 micron pixel size sensor which uses pixel binning to achieve 1.8 micron pixel size. Moreover, Honor has extended the whole AI feature to the front camera as well due to the processing power offered by the Kirin 710 system on chip. Talking about selfies, I noticed that while the Honor 10 Lite had some trouble focusing, the phone takes some good looking selfies in most situations. Under sufficient lighting, the selfies have a nice pleasing facial tone and a good amount of details. You won't even need to look at it at 100% crop because it is a massive image. Having said that, at 100% crop, because I obviously will check it, the sharpness is not really there. The portrait mode selfies on the other hand are too aggressive and not really my thing. Talking about the baked in AI feature, it can essentially identify some scenarios when shooting. For example, it can figure out that you are shooting indoors and do the color correction accordingly. Honestly, I didn't notice much difference. Thankfully, the algorithm is not boosting colors like it did on the P20 Pro. One thing I noticed, however, is that the Honor 10 Lite defaults to the portrait mode when you switch to the selfie camera. That's just weird. As for the cameras on the rear, you get a 13 megapixel plus 2 megapixel dual camera setup. The 2MP secondary camera is used only for depth sensing, which is very average by the way. There are studio lighting effects in the portrait mode if you're into that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, you also get a separate aperture mode which works better than the dedicated portrait mode in my opinion. I still can't for the life of me understand why the HDR option is buried deep in the menu. As for the pictures captured by the rear camera with AI off or on, the Honor 10 Lite tends to blow out highlights because it favors a higher exposure. Every time I wanted a good usable picture, I had to manually reduce the exposure to get the right contrast. That about the phone does capture decent pictures with HDR on. Otherwise, the details are missing in the darker portions of the image. From my low-light samples, I noticed that the camera literally does a crazy amount of noise correction and there is no semblance of details that remains in the shots. It looks blurred and hazy. But there is a dedicated night mode which uses a 4-second shutter for shooting long exposure. You don't need to keep the phone on a tripod. I tried this mode and while the pictures look great at first glance, you zoom in and you will see that it has retained noise and the algorithm has created a watercolor effect. If you don't zoom in, a lot of folks will still appreciate the pictures coming out of the night mode, because it brings in perceived sharpness and details where nothing existed. Overall though, I'm not convinced by the pictures captured using the rear camera. As for the videos, the less said the better. The phone can shoot 1080p videos at 60 FPS no less, but the quality is lacking and there is no image stabilization even in 30 FPS for that matter. Our Honor 10 Lite review unit came with a Kirin 710 system on chip under the hood with 6GB of RAM and 64GB of internal storage. The storage can be further expanded up to 512GB using a micro SD card. But note this, the slot is a hybrid SIM tray, which means you will have to sacrifice the secondary SIM slot in case you want to add a memory card. Note that the internal storage is the eMMC 5.1 kind and therefore your read speeds are going to be somewhere around the 200 MB per second mark and the write speed somewhere around the 150 MB per second mark. The Kirin 710 chip is as powerful if not more than the Snapdragon 660 system on chip made by Qualcomm. The Mali GPU, especially coupled with GPU Turbo 2.0, is great for gaming performance. I noticed that I could extract more power from it for PUBG. I faced no slowdowns as such while gaming. It played just fine. I also played casual games like Alto's Adventure and Guns of Boom with ease. Even daily performance is good with no lags in UI or animations. It is just a very good clean experience through and through. But I do have one complaint. The software has a very aggressive memory management by default. Apps don't stay in memory even for 10 minutes. The phone just closes it to either save battery or just to ensure that there are no slowdowns. Although you can change that in the memory management setting, in apps, and you can sort of figure out which one you want to keep in memory. But it could cause slowdowns, I'm pretty sure of that. As for the 4G performance, I use the Honor 10 Lite with an Airtel 4G connection in Delhi NCR and had no problems with data or calls. In fact, the 10 Lite has one of the best earpieces with great quality. Despite slotting the earpiece in a slit above the notch, there is no drop in quality. Honor uses Huawei's networking prowess to pull off such a feat. Even the Wi-Fi performance was top of the class. And with Wi-Fi Bridge on offer, you can also share your Wi-Fi network with other phones, which not a lot of phones offer in this price range. As for the audio performance, I found that the Honor 10 Lite does a good job with good quality wired earphones. I tested them out with my OneMore triple driver. And as far as wireless earphones are concerned, I tried out the OnePlus Bullets wireless, but it tops out at aptX. And there's no support for aptX HD or LDAC even. The Honor 10 Lite comes with a 3400 mAh battery, which might feel low for folks who are used to seeing a 4000 mAh and 5000 mAh battery in phones in this price range. Anyway, this battery uses a 5V 2A charger, which charges it from 0 to 100 in 2 hours and 6 minutes as per our testing. It also lasted for around a full day of heavy usage with about 15% battery left at the end of the day. I got an average screen on time of 5 hours during my usage, which is not great, but not bad either. So coming to the final part of the review where I answer the question, should you buy the Honor 10 Lite or not? Twist in the tail, I'm not going to do that this time around because we're publishing this review on the 9th of January and the price is going to be announced on the 15th. So I'm going to make a second part where I will put out a much detailed verdict with the price, comparing it to its competitors and doing the whole drill that I do all the time. So wait for the second part, which will drop on January 15th. But I do have a few points to make about the Honor 10 Lite. I think that the Honor 10 Lite is a great package, especially if it's around that price range, with the 710 SoC, great display, great design, and all of that actually sort of works in its favor. The rear cameras might not be great, but if you are a selfie hound, the selfie camera actually works in its favor. As for 2019, I think Honor is on the right track. But yes, wait for the part 2 of the video in case you want a full verdict of the phone, which I will definitely tell you guys at that time. Hope you guys like this video. I'm Ershad from Mr. Phone. Until next time, goodbye.